Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Graphic Jam, Graphic Novels Book Buzz Part 2. I'm Sarah Hunter, editor of the Books for Youth and Graphic Novels sections at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Last but not least, Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Hannah Lafferty, Trade Marketing Manager with IDW, Emily Duvall, Library Marketing Manager at Random House Children's Books, Mimi Rankin, Senior Marketing Manager of School and Library Marketing at HarperCollins Children's Books, Judith Huerta, Marketing Assistant with Penguin Young Readers, and Jennifer Chan, Executive Director of Sales and Marketing at Fantagraphics. First, we'll hear from Hannah Lafferty. Hannah is a trade marketing manager for IDW Publishing and their imprint Top Shelf Productions, and handles marketing and events needs for the school and library market. When she's not on the exhibit floor discussing her favorite titles of the season, she can be found in her downtime crocheting lumpy scarves or running along the reservoir by her apartment in Boston. Thanks for being here today, Hannah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk with you today about IDW Publishing and Top Shelf Productions and what we have going on for fall. So let's jump right into it. Next slide, please. Starting off with our kids' titles, first up we have Dragon Puncher 3, Dragon Puncher Punches Back from James Kochalka. The world has been waiting a full decade for a new installment in this Eisner Award-winning series, and now it's finally here. So let the battle begin again. Next slide, please. This is the world's cutest book series about a cat who punches stuff, and it just got even cuter. Dragon Puncher's human sidekick, Spoonie, has got his fuzzy monster pajamas and a new and improved extra long spoon, so he's ready for anything. But Dragon Puncher mistakes a big ball of yarn for an evil dragon, which attracts the attention of a real dragon. Still, it doesn't matter who started it. If you punch Dragon Puncher, then Dragon Puncher punches back. This is perfect for fans of James Kochalka's other series at Scholastic, Banana Fox, as well as for fans of his Johnny Boo series. He's prolific in both kids and adult comics and has published internationally through small alternative publishers as well as large publishing houses. He's also developed animated cartoons for Nickelodeon and Cartoon Hangover. This one is great for kids of all ages, but especially for years 4 to 8. Next slide, please. Next up, we have a middle grade graphic novel debut. This is the start of a series. This is Order of the Night Jay, The Forest Beckons by Jonathan Schnapp. So this is an anthropomorphic supernatural series that comes out in September and will be a perennial favorite as it's perfect for a summer read or for middle graders going back to school. This series covers themes like bullying, making new friends, gaining independence, and balancing family expectations. Next slide, please. So Frank the Bear is the only bear at Camp Jaybird, and after meeting the vivacious Ricky the Raccoon, they hit it off quickly over their love of Mega Bunny comics. But after a bully's prank goes wrong, Frank is going to have to save the day from a spooky presence at the camp. This one is also great too for kids who are looking to get outside. It contains a map activity, some nature facts, as well as a mini geology lesson. This is great for ages 9 through 12. Okay, next slide, please. Now we're getting into our young adult titles. This is Donuts and Doom by debut creator Bo Lazzarinci, which is out in late September. This title has a super sweet enemies to lover trope with a hint of urban fantasy and a fizzy blue and pink color palette, plus the cutest snake familiar a witch could ever want. Next slide, please. Margot, a witch trying to get her potions business off the ground, and Elena, a struggling musician, have a meet cute at Elena's donut shop. or more accurately, a meek curse, as a misunderstanding leads to Margot casting a literal electrifying spell on Elena's music. With an important gig only a few days away, and the devious witch hub investigators on the case, will the two be able to put aside their differences to set things right and maybe have the chance for something more? Boaz is a debut creator who resides in Scotland. Here he's made an adorable story, perfect for fans of quirky romance and a little bit of magic. This would be a great fit for patrons who enjoyed Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker or the Moonstruck series by Grace Ellis. Again, this is a young adult title, perfect for ages 13 and up. Next slide, please. And now we're getting into our adult titles from Top Shelf. This is Farm System by Rich Koslowski, which is coming out in October. For every hero who saves the galaxy and makes the front page, there are a dozen staffers working behind the scenes and 100 up-and-comers hoping to take his place. Farm System is your ticket to the hidden world of superpowered individuals hoping to make the big leagues. There's something about seeing pop culture icons like superheroes showing a more gritty side that just captures our imagination. This is a really great pick for patrons who enjoy shows like The Boys as well as Invincible. Next slide, please. Rich Koslowski has an established reputation and is an indie comics darling. He offers remarkably clever deconstructions of nerd culture, Walt Disney, and the history of Hollywood animation. He's received such awards as the Ignatz, the Glyph, and you might know him from his work Three Fingers, The King, and BB Wolf and the Three LPs. Farm System insightfully connects the fictional world of superhumans to the world of sports, show business, and even the comic book industry itself, all fields where the talented many compete desperately for a few precious slots. Next slide, please. Next up, we have Super Trash Clash from Edgar Camacho. This is coming out in December, and this is from rising star Edgar Camacho, who you might remember from Onion Skin. He's presenting a heartwarming reflection on what gaming means to kids, and this is packed full of Easter eggs and tributes to the games that shaped our culture. Next slide, please. It's an age-old story. For her birthday, Duel wanted the hottest new video game, but her mom accidentally bought her Super Trash Clash, one of the worst games ever made. But years later, when an older Duel finds a cartridge in a vintage store, memories come flooding back of simpler times when she could disappear into electronic worlds or spend hours battling with friends and enemies and the love and sacrifices that bound her family together. This story jumps through time to offer an all-ages appeal as the protagonist reminisces her childhood as an adult. Relatable stories within are finding priceless treasures within the weird and unwanted gifts given by family members. Edgar is from Metepec, Mexico, and has won various comic and illustration awards in his homeland, including Mexico's first National Young Graphic Novel Award for Onion Skin. This is his second English language graphic novel. Next slide, please. So this is the graphic novel adaptation of Edmund White's A Boy's Own Story, which is out in December. The semi-autobiographical novel was actually first published in 1982 and hailed by the New York Times as J.D. Salinger crossed with Oscar Wilde. The Washington Post labeled it as an instant classic of American literature. This is a gay coming-of-age story that takes place in the Midwest in the 1950s with themes of loneliness and self-discovery that still resonate with readers today. This was first published, we know Edmund White as a gay literary icon. He was awarded the Penn Sol Bellow Award in 2018 and is the recipient of the 2019 National Book Award Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters. His last novel, A Previous Life, was published in 2021. He also co-founded the Gay Men's Health Crisis in 1982, which is the world's first HIV and AIDS care and advocacy provider. As we know, the AIDS epidemic decimated whole generations, and throughout the pandemic, as the queer community suffers the loss of their rights and through safe spaces, there has been a resurgence in the call to reclaim and protect queer history. This vibrant and insightful portrait of 20th century gay life is as essential as ever. Next slide, please. The creative team behind this adaptation have taken so much care with this work, and here you can see how Edgar Carrige's absolutely dreamy paintings transport White's prose. One of the graphic novel's co-writers is Esmond's husband, Michael Carroll, and Brian Alessandro, who are both accomplished fiction writers. And it's perfect for adult readers who enjoy Chris Ware and Alison Bechtel and who want to broaden their horizons. Okay, next slide, please. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our titles. Please feel free to send me an email at hannah.lafferty@idwpublishing.com if you'd like to sign up for our school and library newsletter. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Now we'll hear from Emily Duvall. Emily has worked on the RHCB school and library team for 5.5 years and has always had a passion for graphic novels since she took a graphic novel course in college. Emily manages the RHCB Teachers and Librarians newsletter and website, so make sure you sign up for those. Take it away, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you all today about some graphic novels that we have coming up this fall from Random House Children's Books. Next slide, please. And we're going to kick it off with Apple Crush by Lucy Nicely, which came out earlier this year. Lucy Nicely is back with the second book in the Stepping Stone series. Jen is just getting used to her life on Peapod Farm with her new stepsisters. But when the school year starts, there are even more changes in store. Jen is navigating new friendships and challenges, but her stepsister seems more interested in crushes and boys than hanging out with her. This series and Lucy's storytelling is so good at capturing everything awesome and horrible about growing up. The series tackles everything from divorce to first crushes. Every time I read this series, it just brings me right back to that middle grade struggle and joy. And this is the perfect graphic novel series to hand to fans of Smile and Awkward. Next slide. Super excited to talk to you today about Twin Cities from Jose Pimenta. Luis and Luisa are twins, and they finally have the chance to stand on their own. Luis is staying local in Mexicali, Mexico, and Luisa is planning to cross the border every day so she can go to a private school in Calexico, California. Suddenly on his own, desperate to not be alone in middle school, Luis finds himself making friends with the first kid who's willing to give him a chance. Only this new friend says and does a lot of things that he isn't too sure about. Luisa is ready to thrive and stand on her own 2 feet, but she soon finds herself failing under the pressure of crossing the US-Mexico border every day. She no longer has to worry about being compared to her brother, but now she doesn't have his support when she could really use it. At home, both twins have a chance to reconnect, but instead they find themselves pushing each other away. This is a truly contemporary story about siblings, middle school, and peer pressure. Twin Cities explores the importance of family and also the struggles that come with trying to live up to standards that are impossible to meet. It just garnered its 3rd starter review, and Kirkus hailed it as transcendently good. Next slide. Witches of Brooklyn, S'more Magic. Witches of Brooklyn is this is the 3rd book in the Witches of Brooklyn series, and this time Effie is headed to summer camp in a new adventure filled to the brim with magic and mayhem. This is a fun and quirky middle grade graphic novel series that mixes fun with heart. Effie and her found magical family is a fun middle grade take on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And next slide. My Aunt is a Monster. Safia thought that being blind meant she would only get to go on adventures through her audiobooks. This all changes when she goes to live with a distant and mysterious aunt, Lady Whimsy, who takes Safia on the journey of a lifetime. While the reclusive Lady Whimsy stops an old rival from uncovering the truth behind her disappearance, Safia experiences parts of the world she had only dreamed about. But when an unlikely group of chaotic agents comes after Whimsy, Safia is forced to confront the adventure head-on. For the first time in her life, Safia is the hero of her own story, and she must do what she can to save the day, and maybe find some friends along the way. Romina Yeed returns with an all-new graphic novel filled with action, magic, and family. My Aunt is a Monster explores how anybody can do anything as long as they are given the chance and have the right people behind them. This book not only addresses the importance of being yourself and found families, but it explores the vulnerability of kids who depend on the adults around them. This contemporary fantasy might have magic and curses and adventure, but more than anything, it tells the story has heart that any reader will be able to connect to. Next slide. And I have to admit, this might be one of my favorite books on the list this fall. Other Ever Afters is an exciting new graphic novel reimagining of fairy tales with an LGBTQ+ point of view. What if the giant who abducted you was actually thoughtful and kind? What if you didn't want to marry your handsome, popular, but cold inside suitor? What if your one true love has all the responsibilities that come with running a kingdom? Award-winning author Melanie Gilman's phenomenal colored pencil art creates another ever after for the characters who are most worthy of it in these fairy tales. In these fairy tales, the girl marries the beast or the mermaid, the monarchy is overthrown, and the goose girl saves the day instead of the prince, which makes it amazing read for classic fairy tale lovers and those looking for something new. These thought-provoking stories are perfect for teens, but will also have crossover appeal for both younger fairy tale lovers and adults. Next slide. The Big Adventures of Baby Mouse, Once Upon a Messy Whisker. Baby Mouse, I'm proud to say, is back in a new large trim format with full color interiors. This is the same beloved Eisner Award-winning mouse who defined graphic novels for young readers for more than a decade, from Jenny and Matt Holm. This is in a new format for a new generation of readers coming to the graphic novels for the first time. Baby Mouse has always had the biggest imagination, but what if she could make her fantasies come true? She has to be careful what she wishes for. Next slide. And Max Meow, book 4, Taco Time Machine. Max Meow, the Cat Crusader, is back in this 4th installment of the Laugh Out Loud funny graphic novel series with Catitude. This series is perfect for fans of Dogman and investigators. This time, Mindy's dad is lost in the space-time continuum, and it's up to Max and Mindy to save him. But when Max starts messing with the past, he erases his very first meeting with Mindy, and all together endangering their friendship, as the fate of Kittyopolis hangs in the balance. With a ton of kid appeal, in addition to themes of friendship and science, this series is a blast. Each book also has a how to draw activity in the back, and this one includes how to draw Agent M. Next slide. Maybe an Artist by Liz Montague. When Liz Montague was a senior in college, she wrote to the New Yorker asking them why they didn't publish more inclusive comics. They wrote back asking if she could recommend any, and she said, yes, me. Those initial cartoons in the New Yorker led to this memoir of Liz's youth from the age of 5 through college, how she navigated life in her predominantly white New Jersey town, overcame severe dyslexia through art, and found the confidence to pursue her passion. Funny and poignant, Liz captures the age-old adolescent questions of who am I and what do I want to be with pitch-perfect clarity and insight. This brilliant laugh out loud graphic memoir offers a fresh perspective on life and social issues and proves that you don't need to be a dead white man to find success in art. And next slide. Keeping with the art theme, we have Doodleville Art Attacks. We have a lot of continuing series on our lists, and I know that your readers will be thrilled to know that a new Doodleville story is coming their way from the author of Cardboard Kingdom, Chad Zell. Drew and her mischievous doodles are planning a heist in reverse at the Art Institute of Chicago. Drew didn't mean for her doodles to send the Art Institute into a downward spiral of art combat, but now it's up to Drew and her art club to resolve and restore the museum before it's too late. Between the diverse cast of characters and driving plot full of creativity and adventure, there's a lot to love here that readers will want to read over and over. And next slide. Sweet Valley Twins Best Friends. The New York Times bestselling world of Sweet Valley returns in a new series of all new graphic novel adaptations. Jessica and Elizabeth have always been inseparable twins, but starting middle school means a chance for new beginnings. Elizabeth is excited to organize a school newspaper, but Jessica is more interested in joining the exclusive Unicorn Club. Middle school is challenging enough, but with each twin becoming their own person, keeping their friendship intact might be harder than they thought. Francine Pascal's beloved Sweet Valley Twins comes to life in a brand new graphic novel that will have old and new fans delighted as they meet Jessica and Elizabeth in graphic novel form. With the lively artwork of Claudia Aguirre, Sweet Valley Twins Best Friends is a contemporary middle grade graphic novel filled with heart, laughter, and lots of twins. Next slide. That's it for me. Please do sign up for our newsletter at writehouseteacherslibrarians.com, and don't forget to visit our website where we have free downloadable resources, events with our authors, and more. And follow us on social. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily. We'll now hear from Mimi Rankin. Mimi is the Senior Marketing Manager for HarperCollins Children's Book School and Library team. The floor is yours, Mimi.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Mimi Rankin, and I'm excited to tell you about some of our new graphic novels coming out. Some are already out and some are coming out later this year. and most of them are on our Harper Alley imprint, which is our new graphic novel imprint, which we're really excited about. So next slide, please. So first up is Sir Ladybug. We have the first two in the series here on the slide, and actually a third is coming out this fall as well. From Caldecott honoree and two-time Geisel Award-winning author illustrator Corey Tabor. This is a fresh and funny young graphic novel series sure to delight readers. Woven seamlessly into this funny and surprising story are the themes of friendship, bravery, teamwork, creative thinking, and helping others. With warmth and heart, surprising and delightful asides, and a memorable cast of characters, this new series will appeal to avid and reluctant readers alike. And like I said, these are the first two in the series, and then the third is also out this fall. Next, please. All right, the first cat in space ate pizza. New York Times bestselling author Mac Barnett and Caldecott Honor Award-winning illustrator Sean Harris, who also happen to be childhood best friends. They team up for a hilarious full-color paper overboard middle grade graphic novel duology following the adventures of First Cat, Laws 4000, and the Moon Queen as they race to save the moon from the hungry rat kings. What started as a live cartoon over Zoom meetings and Instagram during quarantine has developed into this hilarious laugh out loud graphic novel series. And again, there will be two in this series. This is the first one, and it is truly laugh out loud funny. Cannot recommend it enough. Next, please. And this might be my favorite book on the list. It's really tough. There's so many good ones, but this is Swim Team by Johnny Christmas. And please remember that name as if you could ever forget it. This is Bad News Bears meets New Kid in this masterful middle grade debut from cartoonist Johnny Christmas, where a young girl named Bree must face her fear of swimming head on while at the same time confronting the long-standing barriers of systemic racism set within the public pool system. This has 4-starred reviews, and Swim Team is a must-have on your shelves this year. I cannot recommend this one enough. Next, please. One day, everything was exactly as it was supposed to be, and the next, the closest thing Abby ever had to a sister, Noreen, was just gone. Distracted by the annual preparations for the Samhain festival, Abby's classmates are quick to put Noreen's disappearance aside. The coven will find her, Abby's friends say. They have it under control. But Abby can't let it go. Soon, a search for answers leads her down a rabbit hole that uncovers more secrets than Abby is ready to handle. As mounting evidence steers Abby toward the off-limits woods that surround the academy, she begins to see that Noreen's disappearance mysteriously has a lot in common with another girl who went missing all those years ago. It's best to stay It's best to stay away from the woods, they say. Fans of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina will love diving into this mysterious and witchy world of award-nominated creator Sweeney Boo. Enchanting full-color illustrations will be sure to charm readers as they explore the halls of Dinwiddie's Institute of Magic and the forbidden forest that lies beyond. Next, please. All right, Play Like a Girl. Debut author Misty Wilson chronicles her 7th grade experience as the only girl on her town's football team in this empowering graphic memoir about teamwork, friendship, crushes, and touchdowns. Misty never shies away from a challenge on or off the field. So when the boys tell her she can't play football, there's only one thing to do: join their team and show them what she's got. But the training is rougher than she thought, and so are the other guys who aren't thrilled about having a girl on their team. Middle school isn't so easy either. Misty wants to fit in with the popular kids, but they think a girl playing football is weird, and even her best friend doesn't get it. Can Misty find a way to score points with her teammates, make new friends, and show everyone, including herself, what it means to play like a girl? Next, please. Squire. This has received 4-starred reviews. Aiza has always dreamt of becoming a knight. It's the highest military honor in the once great Beit Saji Empire, and as a member of the subjugated Ornu people, knighthood is her only path to full citizenship. Ravaged by famine and mounting tensions, Beit Saji finds itself on the brink of war once again, so Aiza can finally enlist in the competitive Squire training program. It's not how she imagined it, though. Aiza must navigate new friendships, rivalries, and rigorous training under the unyielding General Hendy, all while hiding her Ornu background. As the pressure mounts, Aiza realizes that the greater good that Beit Saji's military promises might not include her, and that the recruits might be in greater danger than she ever imagined. In this breathtaking and timely story, Aiza will have to choose once and for all loyalty to her heart and heritage or loyalty to the empire. Next. And we are so excited to tell you about the third companion book to New Kid and Class Act, School Trip by Newbery Medal winning Jerry Craft. So Newbery Award-winning graphic novelist Jerry Craft sends Jordan, Drew, and a small group of students from Riverdale Academy on a school trip to Paris in this poignant and funny full-color contemporary graphic novel about friendship, growing up, uncomfortable but necessary conversations, and navigating the world. Jordan, Drew, Liam, and a group of other students from Riverdale are finally heading out on their long-awaited school trip to Paris. As an aspiring artist himself, Jordan can't wait to see all the amazing art in the famous City of Lights. When their trusted faculty guides are replaced at the last minute, the school trip takes an unexpected and hilarious turn. But trying to find their way around a foreign city ends up being almost as tricky as navigating the same friendships, fears, and differences that they struggle with at home. Will Jordan and his friends embrace being exposed to a new language, unfamiliar food, and a different culture? Or will they all end up feeling like the new kid? We are so excited about this one, and it comes out next spring, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Next, please. All right, that is it from me. That wraps up some of our favorite new graphic novels this year. Be sure to follow Harper Stacks on Twitter and Facebook. You can see all of our other links on the page as well. My email is there as well if you have any questions about any of these titles. And also visit harperalley.com for more information on our graphic novels. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mimi. Next up, we have Judith Huerta. Judith is the marketing assistant for Penguin School Library. She enjoys true crime podcasts and is currently looking for something new to listen to. Take it away, Judith.
Hi everyone, I'm Judith, and if you've been listening to a good true crime podcast, please feel free to send it my way. But now on to what you're all here for. Today I'm going to be sharing a few of Penguin's favorite graphic novels. Some of these are available now, and some of these won't be publishing until later this fall, but all of these are amazing, so let's get started. Next slide, please. Now you might know Jennifer Dugan from her prose novels like Hot Dog Girl or the recently out Melt With You. Her books are all super queer and super good, and Coven is no exception. In this witchy graphic novel, a teen has to solve the grisly supernatural murders of her Coven members before the killer strikes again. Next slide, please. MZ and her family suddenly move from sunny California to upstate New York after some of her family's Coven are murdered under mysterious circumstances. MC wants nothing to do with this. She wants to keep living in her home and hanging out with her best friends and girlfriend, not honing her powers. But when her family becomes the killer's next target, she has to focus her powers and save the Coven. With a lot of paranormal, a little romance, and a little horror, this is a book I know tons of people will love to read. Next slide, please. Next up, we have Neverlanders. This is a Peter Pan retelling, but this is not the Neverland that you grew up with. Next slide, please. It's a war zone that is now under siege by a merciless new pirate and his crew. A foul-mouthed Tinkerbell barely holds them at bay as the leader of a fairy army. But the Lost Boys are all dead save one, and Peter Pan is nowhere to be found. So basically, it's time for someone new to take up his mantle, but it's going to take a lot more than happy thoughts to set this story straight. Next slide. Louie and Bear Bite Back is a sequel to Louie and Bear in the Land of Anything Goes. For those of you who aren't familiar with this two-book series, Louie and Bear travel to a world filled with wild creatures, absurd chicken boy hybrids, and even a giant winged kid-eating monster called Cockapoo. Next slide, please. In this second book, Louie Bear and all his friends have settled into the good life in the Land of Anything Goes after their defeat of Harry Larry. That is, until the villainous Panda Brain finds a device that can create or transform anything the user imagines. Will the group be able to get home before the transformations are permanent, or will they be doomed to a new and burrito-less existence forever? This is a wacky and hilarious adventure filled with bright pop-off-the-page colorful art and laugh-out-loud humor that kids are sure to love. Next slide, please. Next up, we have Shark Princess, which is one of the graphic novels that we're all really excited about. Nidhi Chanani is the prolific creator behind favorites like Pashmina and Jukebox, and picture books like I Will Be Fierce and Binny's Diwali. Shark Princess will be Nidhi's return to the graphic novel space with her first early reader series. Next slide, please. Meet Katana, a self-proclaimed shark princess, and the first of her kind. And for Katana, being a princess means being an adventurer. Her allergy-ridden best friend Mac wants to be one too, but he worries that his sharp teeth and big sneezes make him too dangerous to be a princess. But with Katana's help, Mac realizes his unique shine. This book is a spunky tale about friendship and redefining who and what a princess can be. With its easy to follow text, vibrant illustrations, and underwater atmosphere, Shark Princess is the perfect next series for the narwhal and jelly reader. Next slide, please. Our series Paws follows a group of girls with a love for animals, but an inability to have their own pets, so they start a dog walking service. Next slide, please. Mindy Makes Some Space is the second book in this series, and in this book, best friends Mindy Park, Gabby Jordan, and Priya Gupta are back in business. After a few ups and downs, their dog walking business is booming and the girls are closer than ever. But for Mindy, things are beginning to feel a little bit of a nightmare now that her mom is dating someone new and a new student named Hazel arrives in class and seems totally into joining Paws. She's starting to feel a little left out and takes her feelings out on everyone, but will she be able to overcome her fears and learn that change doesn't have to be a catastrophe? It's the Raina Telmagear version of Babysitter's Club with dogs, which is absolutely adorable. Next slide, please. Fibbed is a debut middle grade graphic novel based on Ghanaian lore. Everyone always says that the wild stories Nana tells are huge fibs, but she's actually always telling the truth. When another outlandish story lands Nana in hot water again, her parents decide to send her to Ghana for the summer to stay with her grandmother. She isn't happy to be missing the summer camp she's looked forward to all year, or to be living with family that she barely knows in a country where she can barely speak the native language. But all her worries get a lot bigger, literally, when she comes face to face with Anansi, the trickster spider of legend. This is such an excellent story. Next slide, please. Full of magic and mayhem, a cool cast of characters, and tapping into the legends from Ghana. This is a book you and your readers won't want to miss. And not to mention, this is another incredible book featuring an all-Black cast of characters, something that we're seeing more in the graphic novel space, but still have a long way to go. Definitely pick this one up, and I absolutely love this spread, so definitely recommend this one. Next slide. And the Pathfinder Society consists of 5 curious kids who work together as a team to uncover a series of strange clues, follow its twists, and end up on an action-packed adventure. Next slide, please. In this thrilling climax, the Pathfinders are in for a wild time, literally. Unwittingly transported 50 years into the past, the gang desperately tries to find a way back home. A mysterious map and a reckless river journey takes them straight into danger and beyond, where the present and the past collide in otherworldly ways. But will the Pathfinders find their way home, or will they be trapped in a not-so-groovy era forever? Electrifying work by Eisner winner, award-winning Steve Haymaker brings the action, friendship, and intrigue to life in this exciting graphic novel series. Next slide, please. And rounding off this list, we have our HQ graphic novels, and we're so excited about this series. This kid-tested biography series, Who Was line, is now available as graphic novels. We started publishing this series at the beginning of the year with books focusing on Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez, and Amelia Earhart, and this upcoming fall, we'll be publishing the biography of Michael Jordan. Each of these books have their own voice comic creators bringing their biographies to light, and we're hoping to publish more each season. This is a small snapshot of what we've been publishing so far. We have 7 books already out, so I'm sure your readers will enjoy this beloved series in a new format. Next slide, please. And before I turn it over to the next person, I just wanted to give a quick call out to our Penguin Graphics catalog linked here on screen. This is a brochure which highlights all of our graphic novels, including backlist, front list, and we try to update this seasonally so you never miss out on any of our stellar graphic novels. Next slide, please. And that's all for the Penguin titles. Thank you so much for being here with me and the other panelists, and I hope you love these book selections as much as I do. The PYR School and Library team has more resources on our website, such as Booklist, discussion guides, author videos, storytime activities, and so much more. Just go to penguinclassroom.com, or you can reach us at any of our social media handles listed here. And on to the next person.
Thank you so much, Judith. Finally, we'll hear from Jennifer Chan. Following her passion as a consummate reader and a lover of art, graphic design, and books, Jennifer began her career working in bookstores soon after graduating from college. She moved into the publishing world in 2001, working in trade sales for W.W. Norton, PRH Client Services, and for a number of independent art publishers. She is currently the Executive Director of Sales and Marketing at Fantagraphics Books. Close us out, Jennifer.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for tuning in. Today, I'll be presenting highlights from our Fall 22 list and offer a special sneak preview of our key titles in our upcoming Winter 23 season. Please note that age ranges are included on each title slide along with the on-sale dates in red. Up first is Who Will Make the Pancakes by Megan Kelso, who is a name you might be familiar with. She was part of the Seattle comic scene in the 1990s and is the creator of a DIY comic and zine called Girl Hero, which was a prominent publication in the Riot Girl scene. Next slide. Who Will Make the Pancakes collects 5 deeply social stories exploring the connective tissue that binds us together despite our individual interior experience. Next slide. These stories created over the past 15 years, which roughly coincide with the author's own journey as a mother, wrestle with the concept of motherhood and the way the experience informs and impacts concepts of identity, racism, class, love, and even abuse. Next slide. Taken collectively, Who Will Make the Pancakes showcases Kelso's unique voice in graphic fiction, one more in tune with writers such as Alice Munro, Sarah Waters, or Ann Patchett, and a stylistic command that tailors her approachable and warm cartooning style for each story's needs. Next slide. We're very excited to be publishing this alongside a new paperback edition of her acclaimed graphic novel, Artichoke Tales, which comes out in December. Next slide. Tommy Parrish's first graphic novel, The Lie and How We Told It, was a great generational coming-of-age story for 20-somethings today. It's akin to something like Ghost World or even Catcher in the Rye, in capturing the zeitgeist of a certain 20-something attitude and sensibility that felt very powerful. It won the 2019 Lambda Award for Best LGBTQ Graphic Novel and received fantastic review attention, as well as making the cut on a few Best of the Year lists. Next slide. Their new book, Men I Trust, takes it to the next level and will no doubt give new attention and appreciation for Parrish's work. Next slide. Eliza is a 30-something struggling single mother and poet. Sasha, a 20-something yearning for direction in life, just moved back in with her parents and dabbles as a sex worker. The two strike up an unlikely friendship that, as it veers towards something more, becomes a deeply resonant exploration of how far people are willing to go to find intimacy in a society that is increasingly not conducive to it. Next slide. In Sasha and Eliza, Parrish has created 2 of the most fully realized characters in recent contemporary fiction. Their gorgeously painted pages showcase a graceful understanding of body language and ear for dialogue, brilliantly using the medium of comics to depict the dissonance between the characters' interior and exterior experiences. Next slide. Men I Trust is about not always healthy people attempting to make healthy connections in a disconnected world, and is one of the most moving and insightful works of literary fiction in any medium this year. Next slide. In December, we have The Reddest Rose by Liv Stromquist. Stromquist is considered Sweden's Rebecca Solnit. She is an internationally acclaimed activist and media personality, and her type of activism is accessible, well-researched, and very funny. This book is the follow-up to her satirical work of graphic medicine, Fruit of Knowledge, from 2018. Next slide. Reddest Rose is a collection of comics essays about how historical and societal shifts have altered and perhaps destroyed romantic love. She tracks how philosophers and artists, from the ancient Greeks to Beyonce, conceptualize romantic love. Her signature characters, drawn in a zany, flat, blocky style, ask each other questions and offer sharp commentary as they guide readers throughout history and the change in society's values, from showing love and loving to getting love and being loved. Next slide. Byron, Socrates, Pound, Zizek, and many others make cameos. In this book, the author wonders, in a rationalist, consumerist world, can romantic love survive? Next slide. Couple of additional points to note. This book is not a memoir. It is political without being personal. And this book has academic cross-disciplinary interests. Stromquist supports her arguments with research that draws from philosophy, gender studies, sociology, psychology, literature, and more. Next slide. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of Love and Rockets, our groundbreaking flagship comic series, which the Hernandez brothers still write and draw today. Children of Palomar and Other Tales is the 15th volume in our ongoing series, The Complete Love and Rockets Library, and the 8th Gilbert-focused story volume. Next slide. This comics compilation includes never-before collected work by Gilbert Hernandez from the original run of Love and Rockets Volume 2, short stories from New Tales of Old Palomar, and surreal one-off shorts from Love and Rockets Volume 3, New Stories. Next slide. This volume also includes the story Me and the Unknown, a Rabelaisian journey drawn by Gilbert and written by Mario. Next slide. We're excited to continue on with these affordable paperback omnibus collections, which are a great starting point for new readers to the Love and Rockets series and cast of characters. Next slide. The Extraordinary Part is the first book in a 2-volume graphic novel series set in a near dystopian present, where mysterious creatures called Walls, W-H-O-L-S, coexist with humans since their sudden appearance in a few years earlier. Next slide. 19-year-old Orsay leads an uneventful life in the French countryside until the day he gains extraordinary powers in his hands after an atypically aggressive encounter with a wall. On a trip to Paris in search of a cure, he meets and falls for Basma, a passionate activist for Wall's rights. Next slide. But Orsay isn't convinced that Walls should be granted the same status as humans, especially since Malik, another human with similar powers, embarks on a murderous rampage to avenge those she sees as her kin. Next slide. Renowned for their great conceptual and graphic originality, acclaimed French cartoonists Florent Rupert and Jérôme Molot have contributed an instant comics classic to the annals of science fiction. Next slide. In 1972, underground cartoonist Joyce Farmer and Lynn Chevley produced Tits and Clits, a funny, rowdy, raucous underground comic series about female sexuality that one reviewer described as the ultimate in vaginal politics. They became the first American women ever credited with writing, drawing, and publishing their own comic books. A feminist answer to Zap, Tits and Clits quickly became an anthology showcase for other women cartoonists, featuring the work of Mary Flinier, Roberta Gregory, Lee Mars, Trina Robbins, Dori Seta, and others. Like other underground comics, Tits and Clits leaned into being lewd in order to satirize women's experiences with so-called sexual liberation. Next slide. Featuring stories about birth control, abortion, menstruation, masturbation, and more, Tits and Clits focused on intimate politics, which occasionally clashed with contemporaneous feminist concepts about sex and sexuality. Next slide. Now, for the first time in half a century, a new generation of readers will be shocked, entertained, enlightened, and scandalized by the bold satirical cartoonists that comprise the band of sisters in Tits and Clits. Next slide. In addition to reprinting the 7-issue run of the Tits and Clits series, this collection also includes in their entirety 2 classic solo comics from 1972, written and drawn by Farmer and Chevley, Abortion Eve and Pandora's Box. Also included is an introductory essay providing context to the Tits and Clits place in the history of women's cartooning by the book's editor, Samantha Meyer. Next slide. Up next is We're All Just Fine. Artist Ana Peña's grandmothers live alone in their respective Spanish towns, largely neglected by their children and relatives who never visit. But when Ana comes to see them, she realizes that these women, whose day-to-day existences now seem mundane, experience firsthand an incredibly tumultuous and fascinating period of Spanish history. Next slide. In We're All Just Fine, Peñas weaves the memories of her grandmothers into a narrative quilt that pieces together what it was like for women to assimilate to Spain's dramatic political and cultural shifts in the late 1970s and 80s. The sudden transition from the authoritarian, repressive Franco regime to lively and liberating democracy was at once incredibly freeing, but also destabilizing for women used to their traditional roles as dutiful housewives. Next slide. Through this intimate lens into her grandmother's daily struggle during the Franco years, of their silence, the small acts of rebellion, and great gestures of resilience, Peñas gives voice to an entire generation of invisible women whose stories have rarely been told. Next slide. Combining collage and rough-hewn pencil drawings and mixing past and present, Peñas offers a decidedly feminist tribute to the forgotten lives and legacies of her grandmothers. Next slide. Next slide. Ephemera is a poetic and dreamlike take on a graphic memoir set in a garden, a forest, and a greenhouse. The story drifts among a grown woman, her early memories as a child, and the gossamer existence of her mother. Next slide. A lyrical entry in the field of graphic medicine, Ephemera is a story about a daughter trying to relate to a parent who struggles with mental illness. Next slide. Gorgeously illustrated in a painted palette of warm, earthy tones, it is a quiet book of isolation, plants, confusion, acceptance, and the fog of childhood. Next slide. Lowensohn's debut book is an aching, meditative twist on autobiography, infusing the genre with an ethereal fusion of memory and imagination. Next slide. In Miss Davis, the acclaimed French cartooning duo, Sybil Titu Delacroix and Amazing Amazine, tell the story of Angela Davis, the seminal revolutionary 1960s icon, through an accessible graphic novel narrative. Next slide. Born in 1944 in Birmingham, Alabama, Angela Davis's family fought in the civil rights movement against racial segregation enforced by the Ku Klux Klan. In 1968, she joined the Black Communist Party and traveled to Cuba, a journey which left its mark on her forever. In 1971, Davis was put on the FBI's 10 most wanted list because several Black prisoners whose causes she had championed used weapons she owned in a Marin County courtroom gunfight. She went to prison despite her protestations of innocence. Next slide. The Black people in defense of Angela Davis formed, and soon the entire world would know her story and demand her freedom. In 1972, she was found not guilty by an all-white jury. Since then, she has dedicated her life to the fight for justice. Next slide. This graphic biography also includes illustrated educational supplementary material that adds historical context about the various political organizations and programs referenced to in the book. Next slide. That's it for me. Thanks again to all who registered and for tuning in. All the titles in my presentation are available on Edelweiss, where you can view sample images and download digital galleries. Please feel free to contact me if you want to join our catalog mail list or with any review copy requests or questions you may have. I also send out newsletters for both our adult and our children's titles, so please get in touch if you'd like to sign up. And be sure to check us out and follow us on social media as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and a big thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. We're closing out Read Graphic Month here at Booklist, and this year we went bigger than ever. Check out the recordings of our graphic novels webinars, including a presentation about comics and censorship with the ALA Graphic Novels and Comics Roundtable Committee. Listen to our Read Graphic playlist on our YouTube channel, and of course, read this year's Guide to Graphic Novels and Libraries issue, which is focusing on all things manga, among other things. Now you can share Booklist love with everyone connected to your school district, library system, or higher learning institution. Booklist Online Unlimited offers just that, unlimited simultaneous access to 30 years worth of review and article archives, plus plus digital editions of Booklist, Booklinks, Booklist's Guide to Graphic Novels and Libraries, and our new publication, Booklist Reader. For pricing and other questions, visit www.booklistonline.com/subscribe. Have you heard? Booklist Reader, our new magazine that offers reading recommendations to patrons of all ages, is coming to print in January. Go to www.bit.ly/booklistreader in print to find out how you can order print copies in bulk for your library. Already have a Booklist subscription? You can share the latest issue now. Go to our website for more details. And we are very excited to share that Booklist, Booklinks, and Booklist Reader recently joined the Overdrive Magazines program in partnership with Zinio and are available for your patrons to read in Libby. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, IDW, Random House Children's Books, HarperCollins Children's Books, Penguin Young Readers, and Fantagraphics. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.